In line with my experience growing up in the mental health system, most of the black children were diagnosed with behaviour problems. Like this consultant says and revealed in this mental health magazine. When I became a consultant, I saw black people being sectioned, given schizophrenic diagnoses, not being given the more respectable diagnoses, but the more derogatory ones, those that carry punishment instead of therapy. In fact, the psychiatrist Dr. Suman Fernando even turned down an OBE from the Queen in 2007 for the extraordinary rate that mental health is killing black people. He added, "What seems most strange is that the government say they want to recognise my services to black and minority healthcare at a time when they are trying to push through legislation that would make things worse for black people caught up in the mental health system." In fact, since Dr. Suman Fernando retired, he talks about questioning the theory of mental health on this Vimeo video.
There's a very big variation in how people understand what mental health is, what mental is to start with, and what is meant by mental health. One has to respect the diversity of understanding because we say it's culturally determined, but it's also socially determined. That if you're in a particular social position in a society, you might see health as something different to somebody who is in a different position in society. So it's socially and culturally determined, and of course culture determines a lot of how you think in terms of what is health and what is illness in the mind. I think in terms of bodily illnesses, there's quite a lot known, might say objective evidence of what is illness and what sort of things might be done to help people or to cure illnesses even. But when it comes to this category of mental illness or mental health, then very little is known that can be applied globally, universally, because there's such a big variation as to from cultural, social background.
Racial disparities found in pinpointing mental illness. John Zeba recently examined one of the nation's largest databases of psychiatric cases to evaluate how doctors diagnose schizophrenia, a disorder that often portends years of powerful brain-altering drugs, social ostracism, and forced hospitalizations. Although schizophrenia has been shown to affect all ethnic groups at the same rate, the scientists found that blacks in the United States were more than 4 times as likely to be diagnosed with the disorder as whites. Hispanics were more than 3 times as likely to be diagnosed as whites. Zeba, who studies quality, cost, and access issues for the US Department of Veteran Affairs, found that differences in wealth, drug addiction, and other variables could not explain the disparity in diagnoses. The only factor that was truly important was race. And to pronounce this is a system of eugenics, a systematic review of personality disorder, race and ethnicity, prevalence, etiology, and treatment. The initial analysis compared Asians, Hispanic, and black groups to whites. There was no significant difference in personality disorder prevalence between Asians and whites, or Hispanics and whites. There was, shown in Figure 2, a significant difference between black and white populations. And among some of these mental eugenics population base, with personality disorder, white at 92%, 470 out of 511, Afro-Caribbean 33 out of 511, 6%, and with personality disorder, white at 72.3% in this one, and African American at 14.2%, and Hispanic at 13%, and with personality disorder, white 78%, with African American 11%, and Hispanic 10%. Those treated by mental eugenics have a reduced life expectancy. The researchers somewhat omitted The drugs are toxic.
I don't ever fuck with drugs. I don't do that shit. Prescription drugs, medication drugs, like they drugged me with prescription drugs. That's how I know the pills is made out of the same stuff as crack and speed. Cause man, they put me on like 8 different shit. I remember I used to pass out trying to make it to my room after they gave it to me like almost for real shit. Like I could not help it. And next thing you know, I wake up, I'm in the bed. I'm like, well damn, how did I get here? Did you take me or did I make it? Yo, you feel me? Like right then and there I knew like, yo, this can't be real. And it did the same thing to my little brother too. My little brother was on so many, like, if not more than me. Oh, and he was most of the time too. So when we were homeless, like living from hotel to hotel and shit like that, I didn't really mind because it was either being drugged up in one of the shelters like Child Haven and Boys and Girls Town, you know what I'm saying, dealing with the state, or it was either not eating and having to fend for yourself out on the street. So I had to weigh the options, you feel me? It was like, I want to eat or I want to be drugged and But most of the time, thankfully, we was homeless and on the streets and had to make money and shit.
It was actually the same day that his mother died. Sorry, the funeral. So it was the same day of the funeral. And I had just literally come from the funeral and went to the hotel, and I saw the police and the ambulance in the hotel, and they were escorting him off the premises. And the reason they'd called the police is because they said they didn't know what else to do because he was spending too much time in the reception area, in his dressing gown, in his slippers, drinking champagne. I didn't know what to do. He wasn't disturbing the guests, he just obviously wasn't doing what is supposed to, be doing in that type of environment. So I went with my dad to the hospital where we went, and we had to wait for about 8 hours for a psychiatric assessment. And it was the first time I'd seen my dad come to life. He was completely living in the moment. I remember seeing the A&E doctors crowding around this TV screen, and he was just like acting with them and pretending to be like a doctor, and he was like doing this and looking, and joining in and going, oh really? And they seemed to be playing along with it. I couldn't work out if they thought he was a doctor or was he a patient, but they didn't seem to care, and it was brilliant. He was a comic, and I'd never seen my dad like this, and I thought, my dad's is really funny, and I didn't know this about him. And I never saw that man again. He was sectioned, and he was in hospital for 3 months. He was medicated, and within 2 weeks of his admission, he began walking like this. And I was saying to Dad, why are you walking like that? What's happened? He's like, it's the drug they're giving me under my tongue, Dad. I have to keep taking it. I was like, no, this isn't right. But doctors know best. Keep taking this drug. This is how we treat this condition. So he took this drug for 3 months. By the end of the 3-month period, he was in a wheelchair. While he was on the ward, they said, oh, we've discovered your dad has early onset Alzheimer's, so his stay in hospital has actually been a success because we've discovered he's got this condition. It's like, right, a success, is it? So my dad came into your ward walking. He was working up to that point. He was a vibrant, dynamic man, and now he's broken, and it's a success, is it? Okay. So the good news is, this year, so it's been 4 years this has happened, and I asked the doctors whether they would agree to taper his medication down very slowly to 0, and they agreed. And in February of this year, he was on 0 medication for the bipolar. And they introduced a new drug to help stimulate his appetite, because at that point he got so bad I thought he was actually going to die. He was not opening his eyes, he was breathing, but he wasn't eating, he wasn't doing anything. And I managed to save him, because he then started to wake up. He went from, which I thought he was about to die, to actually being back to slightly how he was again. And this was all through a tweak of medication. So I guess my message here is, if we all live in the moment, imagine how we can really see the magnificence we have in each other and in ourselves and in other people. And my hope is that we can help others to wake up.
Are effects that are not good with taking some of these, antidepressants. So,
well, there's a big effect on libido.
Yeah, on libido.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that have taken it where their sex drive just goes away.
Yeah.